Hello, I'm Mardi Winder, and welcome to the Undoing We show on new streaming network Going Solo Media, WGSN-DB Radio. And I am so happy to be here, changing the format a little bit for this year. And first thing I want to say is wishing you all the very best in 2026. It is shaping up to be an amazing year, the year of the horse. And there's just so much positive energy. I think if we can just harness it, there's a lot of negativity. I'm not going to go into that stuff, but I do want to just encourage you to focus on all the positive things that you are able to accomplish in your own life. Today, I want to share with you a clip about a really important topic. We're going to talk about dating after divorce and how important that is for us to help our kids to get through that and for us to help ourselves to get through that process as well. And I have a real expert on the show today, Rosalind Sedacca, who happens to be a friend and colleague of mine. She is a best-selling author. She is an amazing speaker. She has written a fantastic ebook for parents to use to create a divorce story for their children that is so positive and so personalized. But also, you may know Rosalyn as host of the Dating, Divorce, and Empowered Living show here on Going Solo Media. So she has a wide range of things, but one of the things I think that Rosalyn often doesn't say enough about what she's done is she is actually the founder of International Child-Centered Divorce Month, which happens every January. And this year is the 20th anniversary of that accomplishment. So we are celebrating Rosalind Sedacca and all that she has done for people going through divorce by talking with her and sharing some information about how to start dating after divorce, because that is a reality and it's a challenge for many people. So let's listen into the clip, and then I'm going to catch you on the other side and just share some insight I got from our conversation.
Well, my background was in writing and marketing originally, and I wasn't planning on being involved in any of this, but I had a divorce in midlife when my son was 11 years old. I tried to avoid it for quite a while, but ultimately I knew that that was the best. He was starting to show signs of stress and tension at home, and I knew that the divorce would be a better option for all of us. So we had the divorce, and this was back in the 90s. There wasn't a lot of information about how to do it right and who to check in with to learn. So basically, my ex and I had to figure this out. And fortunately, we did. We worked hard. We made mistakes, but we figured out how to do it so that my son wasn't traumatized by the experience, and raised my son to an adult. And one day in his early 20s, he came to me out of the blue and he said, "You know, Ma, you and Daddy really did a great job with the divorce, and I want to thank you, because most of my friends whose parents divorced either hate their parents or are very angry at them. And I think you and Daddy really hit it on the head and did a great job with it." So I was very unexpected. That was unexpected. I was very unprepared for that. But I realized when I thought about it that this was really something that I had spent an enormous amount of time learning what to do, what not to do, how to avoid conflict and tensions with my ex, how to make sure my son was being protected emotionally and psychologically. And I realized that with all that I learned, I had a lot that I could share with other parents. And so I founded the Child-Centered Divorce Network, became a divorce and co-parenting coach, and also started writing some books and courses and programs on doing co-parenting right, so that people had the information that I wish I had at that time, and which I know they need. And it's evolved to 20 years now is the anniversary of all of that happening, and Child-Centered Divorce Month.
Yeah, that is so phenomenal. People say it's hard to make a difference in the world, not if you're passionate about what you're doing.
I
I mean,
agree.
I'm sure when you were going through your divorce, the last thing was, oh, I'm going to create this international movement, and I'm going to get people from all these different countries to come together and to support this. So I just think it's so inspiring what you did. But
Thank
and
you.
in addition to just doing it, you also did all the training, and I know you're very active in a lot of divorce groups, supporting other
Right.
professionals and training people. And with all your areas of expertise, I would like to focus our interview today talking about the very difficult idea of starting in a new relationship after you've gone through the divorce. And I even hear people say this, that some of these divorces now, they are dragging on for years. Like I have worked with clients that are 3 or 4 years into the divorce process.
Mhm.
They haven't lived with their ex for the last, probably 6 or 7 years, because they were separated before they actually filed for the divorce. So there's even situations where people may still be in the divorce process, and they may be starting into new relationships, and it's not like they're out of one and into another. There's been years of this whole divorce thing. So with all that being said, what are some ideas or strategies or ways to consider? When should you start thinking about divorcing? Maybe not maybe not based on where you are emotionally, but about focusing on the kids, because that's really what we want to do in this interview. So how does dating and kids and divorce all come together?
Yeah, well, that's very complex, as you well know. And yes, you have to be very mindful of where your children are at, what stage emotionally they are at when you even talk about dating and going out with other people, bringing strangers into their life. If the divorce isn't settled, if they're not calm and accepting of the transitions in life that you've been going through post-divorce, then it's especially important that you stop and don't do anything along those lines. If you're starting a social life, make sure it's totally away from the children's awareness so that they're not experiencing any part of that. But it's also very connected to your own emotional state, because I really try to encourage my clients to take as much time as possible before they get into the dating world, and then to realize that this is another step into a new relationship, into possible new relationships. And if you haven't done your homework and learned the lessons from the divorce, you are not going to suddenly magically have a healthy new relationship, no matter how good looking that other person is and how exciting the sex may be, because that's the lure that gets us started in these things. But we don't realize that basically the dating and the fun part of a new relationship only lasts for a certain period of time, and then you get into the reality that you're with another person who is different from you.
Right.
And because they're different from you, inevitably relationship issues are going to happen. But if you learned the lessons from your divorce, seriously sit down and say, what part did I play in the divorce? What role did I play? What did I accept in my partner's behavior that I never should have accepted? What did I tolerate? How would I choose differently now? What are the qualities and the characteristics I really know are healthy to be looking for? And what mistakes did I make all the way through? If you're not doing that in depth alone or with the help of a coach or a therapist, then if there's no new knowledge and new lessons that you've learned, there's nothing going to keep you from repeating the same mistakes again and again. And we see so often people who were married to drug addicts find another drug addict, people who are married to abusers find another abuser. It's there's nothing stopping our behavior. And that's really, not only is it harmful for you in your life, but think about exposing your children once again to a dysfunctional marriage.
Right.
It's hurtful for them. So take your time and understand the complexities of this, and then be very mindful of the fact that when you're dating as a parent, it's an entirely different situation than dating when you're single and don't have children. And so you have to understand all of the complexities that come along with that.
Yeah, yeah, and I do so I really support what you're saying there, and there's a lot of research on the reasons why people tend to choose the same partner over and over again. It's basically because that is what we feel comfortable with, whether we like it or we don't like it. It's an unconscious, it's not something we think about, oh my gosh, I'd love to get into another relationship with an addict. But
Exactly.
what happens is that their behavior resonates with us because it's what we grew up with and probably was something that originated in our family of origin. And
Exactly.
so it's not like nobody is to blame for making those choices, and we certainly don't blame anybody who ends up in a relationship. And definitely if they are being any kind of abuse is going on, it is never your fault that abuse is going on, but you do have the ability to make better decisions or more effective decisions for future relationships. And I just love that reminder that you got to do the work on yourself. You can't just, yeah, you can't just wish it away. It's not going to work that way. Yeah. So what about the whole idea of, should you take kids on dates with you? I hear this one. I get this question quite often. Is it okay to take my kids on dates with me? Or sometimes it's just, well, I like my kids to be involved in all aspects of my life. I don't want to keep secrets from my kids that I'm dating, so I want them to meet my new partners. What or partner, what's your thoughts on that?
So it's understandable that someone might feel that way, but most professionals will agree that you want to really take your time before you introduce your children to any dating partner, because for one, very often dates will last for weeks or months, and then you move on to another person because you're learning about them, and you don't want to expose your children to a rotating door of new people every few weeks, every few months coming into your life. They get attached to the nice ones. They get hurt by the ones that aren't so nice. And these are experiences they don't need.
Yeah.
And they you want them to be able to love and trust someone important in your life, but it doesn't happen until you're able to love and trust that person and really make sure that they are a sound person to introduce your kids to. So again, slow down. Don't introduce your children to anyone until you really feel they're a keeper, so to speak. And then you want to do that very, very slowly. Children have the right to feel frightened, intimidated, scared, worried about new adults in their life. There's also a lot of tension and competition. Suddenly, mom or dad is very excited and happier than I've seen them in a long time, and it's because of this stranger, this other person. What if dad or mom likes that person better than me? We don't want our children to ever be in competition with someone new in our love life, and we have to explain to children that the love that a parent has for a child is incomparable to any other love that you have for anyone else in the universe. And your love is solid and permanent. For the rest of your life, I will love you. For the rest of my life, I will love you. And that's not necessarily the same as it is with other adults. So you don't want your kids to have a fear and insecurity that they're in competition with someone new in your life. And then you have to be very, very mindful in choosing. You have to be very upfront, I believe, in letting people know early on that you are dating, but you happen to have a 5 or a 10 or a 15-year-old at home who you love very much and is very integral in your life. Even if you're not living full time with that child, they're important in your life, and you want a stranger to know that you come with this additional package of having a child or children. If someone doesn't like children in general, that's not a good way of starting any relationship, no matter how exciting and romantic the relationship is. You can't expect anyone to love your children instantly. That'll never happen. But if you're with someone who doesn't like kids or are annoyed by kids or feel kids are a burden, then I would suggest you don't even start going near that.
Yeah.
And then if they do, you want to see if there's going to be a personality meld, and do they have other children? The layers of this can get very complicated and turn into blended families, and they're very rewarding relationships when they work right. But the more people involved in the relationship dynamic that's blended together, the more complications there are, understandably. And
Sure.
so we have to be mindful of our insecurities, your new partner's insecurities, and your children's insecurities. And balancing all of that takes a lot of awareness. And so it's a slow process. No one will instantly feel comfortable. And just because you love this person, your children aren't necessarily going to be in love. Or if you have three kids, each child may react differently to that same partner coming into your life.
Right.
So there's no instant success strategy or tool because you're dealing with human personalities. What
Right.
you want to do is just take it very slowly. So test the waters if you're at a point when you're introducing your children to a new partner, have lunch out at a McDonald's in a public place, take a walk in a park or go to a zoo or something where you could spend some time, but not a lot of time because you want to just get a feeling for what's happening. And then you want to go home and talk and listen. Let your kids vent, let your kids tell you that they hate this person or they didn't like their shoes or whatever is going on. And don't make them wrong. Say, I understand. I'm sorry you felt that way. Maybe we could try doing something different together, but don't ever tell your kids that they're wrong for feeling what they're feeling because they have the right to feel what they're feeling. And they have trouble expressing what they're feeling. So they may make comments that aren't exactly what you were hoping for, but understand their children. They don't have the sophistication. So this is a process.
Yeah.
And as long as you're aware it's a process, then you're much better off than if you have unrealistic expectations about how these things are going to be.
Yeah. And thank you for that, because I think that's painted a really clear picture about what to do and how to handle that. Here's something that I hear quite often. I work mostly with women, and typically they are going to have the children for the majority of time. And quite often it seems like, and I'm not trying to be stereotypical here, but it's going to sound a little stereotypical, that the male or the father will move on to a new relationship faster than mom that's staying at home with the kids, because let's face it, she just doesn't have that much time to do much of anything else. She's working, looking after the kids, dealing with the house, dealing with the school, dealing with everything. Um, so what happens when, or how would you advise a parent in that situation when the ex has moved on, has a new partner, and is very much in that love stage, and the kids go over to the other parent's house and spend their weekend with the other parent, and the new partner is there, or whether she's living there or just going in and out. And
Mhm.
the kids come back and say, well, dad never does anything with us. He's always busy with, Kathy or Becky or whatever her name is. And, we don't even want to go there anymore because we don't like her. And that really puts a strain on this whole co-parenting thing. What are
Oh,
some
yeah.
tips or strategies you could advise? Because I hear a lot of women use similar examples, and it seems like if they're teenagers or older kids, it's even worse because they're more aware of what's going on in the love relationship side of the new partnership than the younger kids are.
Yeah, that's a fabulous question, and you hit it right on the head because that's very common. Men do jump into relationships much faster. They're not as introspective about some of the emotional components that women are more guarded about and take more time with. And so it's very common that that happens. And what we need to talk to our ex about, talk to our co-parents about, is how children react to these situations. Again, we can't fix and change our partner. So our partner is going to be doing what he's doing, and he has the right to be doing that. At the same time, we can talk to them and say, for a child who's this age, the age of our children, this is very common because I read about this, I looked it up, and I heard that it's very common for kids to feel concerned and start feeling that they may be less important to dad than this new love interest. And kids are feeling that there's a competition. Maybe you could talk to dad about talking to the kids and explaining to them how important they are in your life and that you love them so much, and that there's a difference between loving a new girlfriend versus loving your children. if dad's receptive to hearing that, it can be helpful for him. And you want to tell the children the same thing, that this is the way adults behave when they meet someone new and they get very excited. It doesn't mean that they don't care about you. And maybe we could shift some schedules and do some things together. Sometimes it helps to have more activities with the new partner so that the kids get to see the new partner in different activities. Maybe if some of them are more physical or less physical, then
Right.
there's changes in what you're doing, where you're going, and those kinds of things. The important thing for both parents is you need to talk to your children and listen to them. Don't poo-poo and say they'll outgrow this or get over it, or this is typical, so it's not a big deal, because it is a big deal. What they're feeling, and we have to acknowledge it and we have to deal with it. And you need to deal with it for both parents if the other parent isn't, but totally hope and suggest to the other parent that they understand where the kids are coming from. Never make your kids wrong for feeling what they're feeling. We all have the right to feel what we're feeling. They don't always understand all the emotional components, but they know they're feeling insecure or afraid or in some kind of competition for with another person. And so these issues can be handled, but they have to be handled slowly, gently, and with great compassion and empathy.
Yeah.
Put yourself in your children's shoes when you're having these conversations. Understand the difference between a 5-year-old, a 10-year-old, and a 15-year-old when you're having these conversations, and have an age-appropriate conversation with them about what is happening, what options we have, and giving all of each other the opportunity to try different things in order to find a better way of a meeting ground where
Yeah.
we can enjoy and appreciate one another.
Oh, great message. Rosalind, before we get off the call here, and I know these conversations, I say this every single time, they go so fast. January is International Child Centered Divorce Month. Can you tell us a little bit about how people are? Maybe this is the first time they're thinking about dating after a divorce, or maybe they're thinking, well, I have some other co parenting things that I have that I'm wondering about. You have a tremendous resource opportunity for people to access. So tell us a little bit about International Child Centered Divorce Month and the resource that you're offering everybody.
Thank you. So this is the 20th anniversary for International Child Centered Divorce Month, and I always put out educational information, tips and insights and resources for parents before, during, and long after divorce. And this year, for the first time, I'm offering for free a six-part video series on protecting your children during and after divorce that covers a range of topics that are really important. The sixth in the series happens to be dating after divorce. So that last video is all about that topic because it is so important and so complicated. And on the others, I cover a number of really important facets of co-parenting and protecting your children. So that is available on the special website that I've put up. And if you just go to childcentereddivorce.com/CCD month, you'll be able to enter your name and email address and be able to download as many of the videos as you want, as well as several of my professional divorce expert interviews and conversations with more tips and insights all through the month of January. So be sure to take advantage of that, and make sure that you're aware that at my website, childcentereddivorce.com, I have also a lot of free resources and ebooks and other things of value to help you through any facet or stage of divorcing with children.
I really do love talking with Rosalind because she knows what she's talking about. And she doesn't just give a bunch of theory and ideas. She really gives practical strategies and good ideas that parents can use to help navigate this challenge of how do I deal with kids, divorce, and dating. So I think there's four of the issues that I would really like to highlight. And hopefully in sharing these, it'll just kind of reinforce them and help you recall them when you go on about your busy day. So the first thing that I think is really paramount in the message that Rosalind shares is that parents have to be aware that the children's well-being should be the priority during the divorce, and that includes after divorce as well. So even though you may be in a position to feel comfortable about dating again, if your kids aren't there, it really doesn't make sense to start the dating process. I mean, there's nothing wrong with casually dating, but if you're going to get into a serious relationship, you need to make sure that your kids are accepting of the divorce and that they are adjusted to the whole co-parenting aspect of their life, which depending on the age of your kids, that can take a few months. It may take a lot longer. And every child in the family is going to react a little bit differently. Takeaway number 2, as the parent and as a human being, you need to take time to heal yourself before you start getting into other relationships. And I think sometimes when we have gone from a marriage to a single parenting thing, it can be very lonely. It can feel overwhelming. And it can feel like we need some support. And that is where having a good support network around you that is not a romantic partner at this point in time can really help you do the personal growth, the introspection, the reflection, and the changes that you need to make and to become to be able to walk into your next relationship confident, in control, and feeling really good about where you are in life. The third one is one that I think we talk about. I taught the court-ordered co-parenting classes for many years, and this was certainly a big topic in those conversations, was really slowly introducing your child to the new partner. You don't want to you don't want to plan a big event where there's a lot of pressure on the new partner, there's a lot of pressure on you, and there's a lot of pressure on your kids to make this work. Those things, when they go well, they go really well, but unfortunately that doesn't always happen. And they can blow up in everybody's face, literally, and create real challenges and really set the tone for how your kids see your dating in the future. So do it very slowly, short, positive things that your kids enjoy doing. It's better to have them have to leave the event, or leave the time with your new partner or prospective new partner feeling really good about it than feeling like, oh my gosh, why did we stay there so long? I can't stand that person. That's the last thing you want to have happen. And then number 4 is really finding ways to educate yourself about child development, about how your kids are responding, and then finding ways to find support for not only yourself, but for your kids. And one of the great ways that Rosalyn has offered is that free 6-part video series that she is offering. That is only available during January. So the information in the show notes will be, gives you the link to be able to go to Rosalyn's page, childcentereddivorce.com// cdmonth.com, and you can grab those resources and watch them. And that they're a great starting place. She's also got a lot of additional areas and expertise and resources that you can tap into on her website. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I'm so looking forward to having the opportunity to speak with you on a monthly basis for the next 12 months, and just have a wonderful, restful, relaxing January. And please, if there's any topics or things that you'd like to see, make sure that you reach out and